What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 53 of the Silver and Gold. I'm Josh,
And I'm Mike.
and today we're going to be recapping the 49ers versus Patriots, then moving on to a preview of the 49ers versus Cardinals, and then afterwards we're going to sort of jump over to the Raiders section of the show where we will be recapping the Week 4 matchup against the Browns, and then we're going to preview the Raiders versus Broncos a little bit. But I guess that brings us to the first topic at hand. We're going to be talking about the 49ers versus Patriots. And, the 49ers ended out winning and sort of dominating this game from start to finish, 30-13. And I mean, the game wasn't necessarily close, and the scoreboard pretty much reflects that. But, if you watched the 49ers last year, there were a lot of games where they just completely dominated teams and kept piling it on. This was kind of like that, but it wasn't necessarily I would say it kind of felt a little bit different. Like maybe it had a little bit more shades of 2019 Niners feel because, I'd have to say the feeling between really piling it on and what the 49ers did today for the Patriots was probably the difference of having Christian McCaffrey. So I thought Jordan Mason played fine. Jordan Mason ended up getting 24 carries for 123 yards. I know he said he played fine. He honestly, one thing that really stood out to me in the game was the play that got called back. Jordan Mason had this massive touchdown called back for a holding call on George Kittle, and that really bothered me. I mean, because it was a very ticky tack call, and I don't know. I honestly thought that throughout the entire game from start to finish, the officials weren't necessarily that good, but I don't think that the officials necessarily dictated the outcome of today's game at all. So, um, yeah, Jordan Mason had a very good game. I know I said he played pretty good, but McCaffrey was as a Niner fan, we were spoiled with McCaffrey's season last year. So Mason, obviously the 123 yards with a touchdown, and he had 2 receptions for 37 yards. And yeah, man, the 49ers, I saw a lot of improvement this week against, in terms of their defensive line. I thought that they bullied the offensive line of the Patriots, and they couldn't really get much going on offense. At least anything substantial leading to scores. Because I will say the time of possession of this game was pretty close. Like the Patriots were able to stay on the field. It's just, their drives would stall. And, when I say the defensive line, did well, they kicked Jacoby Brissett's ass today. And anytime that your defensive line is, constantly hitting the other quarterback, I'd say more often than not, you're going to win the game. Nick Bosa had a very, very good game today. Let me see if I can pull up his stats because it seemed like a prime Nick Bosa display just by watching the game. But let me see the stat sheet here for defense. So Nick Bosa had 4 tackles and 1 assisted tackle, and he had a sack. But I swear he had at least more pressures than what the stat sheet ultimately reflected. There was another sack that I think was barely an incompletion. So, I mean, for what it's worth, Nick Bosa is supposed to dominate a team like the Patriots, and the 49ers are supposed to dominate a team like the Patriots. Mike and I, we easily picked the 49ers to win over the Patriots, and we would have been shocked if they didn't. I know there was a lot of, I guess, there was a lot of hesitation, about last week the Niners should have kicked the crap out of the Rams, who were depleted, and they didn't. They let the Rams win last week. This week, the 49ers took care of business. Brock Purdy, I think, played very well again. One of the things that I really liked seeing from Brock Purdy is one of the things that I hated the most about playing against the Seahawks back when they had prime Russell Wilson was Purdy has been sensational when escaping and evading pressure. I don't know, man. He works magic. I think he has very good footwork and he's very elusive and is able to get away from pressure. And so he has been showing this constantly since he was a rookie and he took over the team. I know one tendency that I noticed a lot from Purdy early on in his career was that he would roll out to the left and then complete a lot of passes. And right now Purdy's using the pocket. He's getting outside of the pocket. He's going wherever he wants, and it's like, it's kind of nice. He's running for a couple first downs. Let me see how many rushing yards he ended up having. Purdy had 5 carries for 11 yards, so not necessarily like a lot, but it's a lot more than what we had in the past with Jimmy Garoppolo, who is a statue. And you had enough of Jimmy Garoppolo after what, 5, 6 games, Mike?
Maybe 7.
Was it 7?
I feel like it was week 8 when they played the Lions, which maybe 8.
Yeah. So
So
ultimately, yeah, the 49ers were supposed to win this game. I thought Fred Warner had another good performance today. I would like to see a little bit more involvement out of the wide receivers. I feel like there wasn't necessarily one wide receiver who stood out over the others. Like the most receptions today was 4 for 45 yards, and that was from George Kittle. In terms of yardage, Jawan Jennings by far had the most amount of yards. He had 3 receptions for 88. And Kittle ultimately got that pretty sweet touchdown where Brock Purdy just he floated it up to the only spot where George Kittle could get it. And, maybe it's not necessarily a great decision, but it was a perfect throw. Like, I feel like Purdy has a lot of moments like that where it's like, he probably should have thrown somewhere else, but when he does throw it, I mean, it lands. Like, how are you going to argue with the touchdown, right? And Niner Trump is tuning back into the show 2 weeks in a row. Niner Trump, thank you again for supporting the channel. He says, "Hell yeah, back to 500 while the Cardinals fold and the Lambs get eaten by the gummy bears. Hoping the Sea Chickens get roasted by the Lions tomorrow." Here's one thing I will say. I am very into fantasy football, and I need the Lions to stop the the Seahawks at around midfield, like, a little bit past midfield. If the Seahawks can just kick field goals all day tomorrow, if it can be like a field goal kind of game tomorrow, I might be cooking with gasoline here, and I might be getting back to 500 myself, just like the 49ers and just like the Raiders, to their credit. We'll talk about them later in the show. But yeah, we will be talking about the Cardinals more as soon as we get into the next topic. Mike, did you have any thing that stood out to you about the Niner game, or you weren't really able to tune in because you were paying more attention to the Raiders? I don't know. Anything stand out to you?
the pick 6 from Fred Warner.
Oh yeah, dude, Fred Warner had it. I was just saying he had a great game. Good call.
The incredible catch by Kittle for a touchdown, I believe.
Yep.
Over 3 guys, like that was poster material. And then it felt like, because we play fantasy football on Sleeper, and I have Jordan Mason on one of my dynasty teams, and I picked up Jawan Jennings a couple weeks ago as well, and I started both of them. And it felt like every 5 minutes I was getting a Jordan Mason 20-plus yard rush, and then every here and there, Jawan Jennings 25-plus yard reception. So it felt like they had good games, even though, Mason wasn't something to behold or anything, but he had a good statistical day. And then Jennings, for as many notifications as I got, I thought he would have had over another 120-yard game. But you just mentioned he had 88 yards, so I didn't get to see the final stats. But those are 2 guys just from my phone notifications I felt were having good games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing that kind of jumps out right now looking at the stat sheet. So I mentioned that Kittle led all 49ers receivers with 4 receptions, and uh, you know, 2 receivers had 3 catches. Brandon Ayuk had 2 catches. Mason had 2 catches. Juszczyk had 1 catch. Uh, Purdy ended out with 288 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And the interception, he was just he was getting kind of greedy, and those were his own words. He was getting a little greedy. I think he was trying to force it to Ayuk in the end zone, but uh, that's it's an easy mistake to fix, especially in what was a close ball game. But I mean, quarterbacks are going to throw interceptions, and ultimately, it did not matter in this game. But I would say, that stat line that, so many different receivers were able to get involved and none of them had like necessarily a spectacular day, I think just shows a lot of props to Brock Purdy. I think he played really well. And, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but man, he was really he was putting the opposing defense like sort of, I wouldn't say on skates because like he wasn't breaking anybody's ankles, but it's just crazy how he's able to use his footwork and his hip movement to buy more time to throw. Like it's finally nice to watch that on the 49ers rather than to see the Seahawks travel to the 49ers and play them twice a year and have Russell Wilson just do it, you know? Because it I mean that's a Russell Wilson special, and I think, it's cool. It's cool to finally have it on your side. But I guess one last thing, because I'm rereading Jordan Mason's name, on that touchdown that got called back, and this is so minor and insignificant. To add insult to injury to that, did you see the play, Mike?
No.
The freaking ref threw the flag literally at Jordan Mason. I think it bounced off his helmet.
Jeez.
So, like I said, so insignificant, but that's one thing where I'm like, man, he dead ass just like threw it at him. So but all in all, I would love to see the defensive line continue to dominate. I think that Malik Collins stepped up. I think Jordan Elliott got a little bit banged up in this game too. The Niners are getting very thin at defensive line. So, we'll see how it holds against the Cardinals. And I think that's probably a good bridge to get into the Cardinals. But before we do that, I just want to show Mike finally got his first prediction of the year. Finally got his first one correct. It only took 4 weeks, so a little bit of a round of applause for Mike. Yeah, congratulations, Mike. Took you a little longer than we thought, but you finally got there.
Lucky number 7. Yeah.
What do you mean?
When you include the Raiders predictions, that was probably my 7th prediction.
No, I think. Well, yeah. This was prediction number 7, and then the Raiders one was prediction number 8. So
8, and that one tanked.
Yeah, and you kind of dragged me down with you, but we'll get to that later in the show. But we are going to be previewing the 49ers versus the Cardinals, and I mean, when I was looking at this game a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, the Cardinals look very good. But all it took was 1 week, and I'm just like, man, I really don't know about this game. Because one thing I will say is ever since they've gotten Kyler Murray, I absolutely hate playing against the Cardinals because the Niners always struggle against mobile quarterbacks, and Kyler Murray might be the most mobile, shifty, like, what I was saying, what Brock Purdy, was able to do to the Patriots? Like, Kyler Murray's like that, but like on steroids.
Yeah, he's very much like Russell Wilson, but shiftier.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the pocket,
and
whatnot.
Can you like unplug your mic, plug it back in? It was getting a little glitchy, so maybe it's on my end, but yeah. And then I will have you unmute yourself in a second. Sorry, everybody, for the technical difficulties. It happens sometimes. Unmute yourself in. There we go. Hello.
How do I sound?
It still kind of sounds a little raspy or whatever. We're gonna get this right. If you have any comments right now, we will. I'll be taking comments while Mike gets his mic in order.
How do I sound now?
Maybe refresh the page and come back in. Maybe it's that. All right. Now everybody's got me on the big screen. Like I said, we're taking comments right now. We're previewing the Cardinals. I guess what I'll say too, as I was just saying, the Cardinals, ever since they've gotten Kyler Murray, have been a bad matchup for the 49ers because they struggle to contain mobile quarterbacks. And, Kyler Murray is one of the most shifty quarterbacks. We finally got Mike back in here. Mike, can we do a mic test?
How do I sound?
Perfect.
All right.
What did you do?
I threw my mic across the room.
Really?
No.
Oh.
I guess refreshing it worked.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow. I felt bad, because yeah. All right.
We're good.
Back to the show. Honestly, I guess where I was going, the Cardinals have always been a tough matchup for the 49ers just because of the way that they built their team. They right now have a good, solid running game with James Conner. I already mentioned twice now the mobile quarterbacks in the middle of your technical difficulties. The Cardinals also now have a true number one wide receiver that they haven't had since they had DeAndre Hopkins. And so before this week, I was kind of thinking I might pick the Cardinals to win this game. Because right now, where I sit with the 49ers, yes, they just dominated the Patriots. Do I think it was, does that domination over the Patriots mean that the 49ers are back? I don't know if it necessarily means that they are, because the Niners were supposed to dominate the Patriots. Who on the Patriots is a superstar versus how many superstars are on the 49ers? That being said, the Cardinals just had a very bad loss to the Washington Commanders, who are much better than everyone thought they were going to be this year, because they have an ascending quarterback right now in Jaden Daniels, who looks, he looks like the real deal.
Dude, this is 2 years in a row that I was like, this is my guy. CJ Stroud, immediate superstar. Now Jaden Daniels, this fucking guy is probably the rookie of the year. Can you name, it's not going to be Caleb at this point. At this rate, I should say. I mean, Marvin Harrison, solid option, but he's on and off, I'd say, as far as being explosive, right? Brock Bowers had a nice hot start. Malik Neighbors is probably the other option for sure. But
Dominic Pooney, you forgetting Dominic Pooney?
But the way that Jaden Daniels is not only playing but also carrying this team to a 3-1 start, right? 3-1. They just beat the fucking brakes off the Cardinals.
Yeah,
and they beat the Bengals last week. I'm curious who else they've beaten. I wouldn't be shocked if it was the Giants or something, and that's why nobody thought anything of it. But the Commanders are in first place in that division right now after 4 weeks.
Yeah, they didn't just beat the brakes. They didn't just beat the brakes off of the
Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals. They also, that game against Cincinnati, it was very there was a moment in the game, I think, where Jaden Daniels cemented himself into, oh, this guy's going to be good. And it was a fourth down in that Monday Night Football game where it was like 4th and 1 or maybe 4th and 4. Like, and I know that's a huge difference, but they did. I think they were going to send out the punt unit, and Jaden Daniels is telling his coach, "No, let's go for it." They went for it. They got it. So, like, dude, like, he just has the swagger to him. So why that's relevant if you're just tuning in is because they just beat the brakes off the Cardinals this week, and the Cardinals are facing the 49ers. The Niners are just built differently. So football isn't always like a rock, paper, scissors, or like this team beat this team, so this team's going to lose to this team, right? It's football is not that kind of game at all. There are key matchups. I think James Conner is going to be a problem on Sunday because, like I said, the Niners faced against the Patriots offensive line and Ramondre Stevenson. I think James Conner's a bit better, and I think the Arizona offensive line is a bit better. I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is a very good receiver. He's not maybe on the same level right now as Malik Neighbors has been in terms of, like, just comparing where they were drafted and everything. But Kyler Murray is that X factor that I'm just kind of worried about. Like, if the 49ers lose, if there were a game for me to pick against the 49ers, and I know I haven't done it yet on this show, if there were a game, this would have been the game, but I still don't know yet. I'm going to let you pick a winner, and maybe you can offer a perspective of, like,
this guy is 1-7 in his picks. I'm just gonna pick whatever Mike doesn't pick.
Yeah. Whatever Mike doesn't pick is going to go into fruition. Although you were right last week about the 49ers,
Yes.
I don't know, Mike. That was an upset special. The Patriots really they really blew it. They had it in the bag. As soon as you said the 49ers were winning, they had it in the bag.
Again, I could have committed to the bit and picked the Patriots, and then I probably would have still picked the Raiders. The Browns. I would probably still pick the Browns, and I've just been like, all right, we'll see what happens. But anyways, no, I'm gonna pick the Niners here. Like, I can see the potential for the Chargers kind of coming into this game. Oh, we're pissed off. Like,
Cardinals.
We have to. What did I say?
Chargers.
What? Okay. All right. Damn. I could see the Cardinals coming into this game upset. We played like shit last week. We got to live up to who we are, yada, yada. We got to play up to this, the defending NFC champ, defending NFC West champ. We want to play up to them. We want to beat them, And it's a divisional game. Anything can happen. But I just think the Cardinals' defense, especially on paper, is not that good. And I mean, we already got Debo back when I thought he was going to be out a couple more weeks. I just think even without McCaffrey, and they got Kittle back too, it's like even without McCaffrey, like the Niners have weapons on offense. They're going to score points just like they did this week. And they have defensive playmakers who are probably going to make plays like a Fred Warner. And that's going to be enough to outscore the Cardinals next week. That's what I think.
Yeah, the 49ers are also going to be at home in this one. I think the 49ers should win so long as they're able to dictate the pace of the game and are able to adequately stop Kyler Murray and contain James Conner. Honestly, I would say in order of, like, most important to least important, I would say stopping James Conner is probably the first, that's the first thing the 49ers need to key in on, because the Cardinals, I think it's one thing if Kyler Murray is able to escape pressure. The Niners have been doing, I'd say, I think they could do a decent job against the Cardinals on the back end. I know it's Marvin Harrison Jr. that you have to account for, but the Cardinals also have Greg Dortch and Michael Wilson, who, I think Kyler likes to distribute the ball a little bit equally. Like, I don't think he cares. It's not to him, I'm going to throw to my favorite receiver. It's, he's going to read the coverage and he's going to throw to his guys. But I think if they can stop James Conner and not let him run for like 200 yards, or I guess 125 is a little bit more realistic because 200 is an exaggeration. That's not going to happen. But if they don't let what Kyron Williams did to the 49ers just last week happen to them with James Conner this upcoming week, I think that already gives the Niners a better chance to stop Kyler Murray. I don't know. I think they play complementary football as well, to where they like to run the football. And if their run game isn't necessarily getting going, I don't know. It's a rhythm game. Like, do you kind of get what I'm trying to say, Mike? Like, if you can stop if you can stop the run, their offense is going to be a little bit more one dimensional, and you can kind of, get Charvarius Ward. I think Charvarius Ward needs to be matched up on Marvin Harrison Jr. the entire game. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts. I don't know. I don't think Renardo Green is ready for that matchup right now. The Niners can't flirt with not having that matchup because they are 2-2 right now, and this is a divisional game.
Yep.
Diamador Lenore could probably do okay, but I would just feel more comfortable with Charvarius Ward. So, yeah, I might switch my pick later in the week if something happens. But right now, the 49ers are healthy, and they're coming off of a win. And the Cardinals are, I don't know if they're necessarily banged up, but they are coming off of a loss where they looked very defeated. I'm going to pick the 49ers in this one. I know, shocker, right? But I'm going to pick the Niners. And you are also going to pick the Niners?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's see here. Let's go ahead and lock that in, and then we will get to the other pick that I should have had locked in the next topic. Thrash is tuning back into the show. Thrash says, "Hey, Thrash, thank you for coming back. It's been a while, but hey, we're already 4 weeks into the season. We're already talking about week 5. Can you believe that? Time flies."
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It feels like just yesterday we were doing the draft stream,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Thrash asks, how has Harrison looked? So Harrison has kind of been, he has been like, I almost want to say boom or bust, because week 1, he was a non-factor at all. I'm assuming you're talking about Marvin Harrison on the Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr. But week 1, he was not a factor at all. Week 2, he tore it up against the Rams, but the Rams don't have a good pass defense. They don't have great secondary play. Week 3, Marvin Harrison Jr. had a good game. And then week 4, he was very good to start the game, this past week. And then for whatever reason, they either went away from him or he just got neutralized the whole practically rest of the game. He had a touchdown early on, and then afterwards, like, maybe got a couple of catches. Then, what did that game finish? Like 40-something-7? Cardinals, Commanders. 42-14. And yeah, who scored those touchdowns? I know one of them was Harrison. All right.
I think Connor was the other.
Yeah, Connor was the other. 18 carries, 104 yards. Yeah. I think that should tell you everything you need to know about the way that the Cardinals like to run the football. So the Niners definitely need to be prepared to stop James Conner. Kyler Murray right now, maybe he has begun a funk, but he looked very good against the Rams. It's going to be a divisional game. I would not take Kyler Murray lightly because that is who has made playing the Cardinals very difficult for you in the past several years. So, yeah. I think as long as they can stop James Conner and make sure they contain Kyler Murray, I don't necessarily know that he favors Harrison Jr. because Harrison Jr. had 5 receptions, 45 yards, and a touchdown. Greg Dortch had 4 receptions, 38. So obviously no touchdown there, but yeah, it seems pretty evenly distributed between the targets. So yeah. Thrash says, "Wow, 42-14." Yeah, the Cardinals right now. This is probably the time to play them while they're not confident. Their confidence just got shot because they probably thought, they probably drew it up on their schedule earlier on. Like, how could you not look ahead? They always say don't look ahead, but it's like, you're looking through the schedule. If I was a player, I probably would, like, oh, this game is gonna, entail this or that. I do it as a fan. So maybe they don't do that. But they probably expected to win this football game and they got blown out. So yeah, they
Yeah,
got blown
I
out by a
think
young quarterback.
yeah, I think it really is a lot to do with their defense, but I also think it is, especially with the past 2 weeks for the Commanders, it is a testament to how good the Commanders' offense is playing with Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury at the helm. So
Yep. That's another thing too, is I have to get used to Cliff Kingsbury not being with the Cardinals. Like, I know he wasn't there last year, and I was kind of out on
right,
Jonathan Gannon, and I think Gannon has actually done a better job than I gave him credit for last year. Like, it seems
yeah,
like his team is much improved, but they were not improved this week. And like I said, this is the time for the 49ers to play them while their confidence is a little bit low. Do you have an idea on how the scoring might be in this game, Mike?
for the Niners and Cardinals.
Yeah. Do you see it being
I
a high scoring game? I kind of see it like maybe in the 20s, like 24-21.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. But I could also see it getting to like the 27-28, sort of 31-28 sort of score too, somewhere in
Yeah.
between there.
Hmm. But yeah, no. Niners, Niners, and we move on to the Raiders. Mike, the Raiders won a football game that we. All right. I messed up because I saw the notification that Max Crosby and Devontae Adams and Michael Mayer would not be playing in this game. Just last week, I was saying, you know what? I'm going to give Antonio Pierce the benefit of the doubt that he will turn this around. He said he's going to make business decisions, and you were not so optimistic on whether or not they would turn it around. You really thought the Browns defense was going to be a problem for the Raiders. And yet we are sitting here with the Raiders beating the Browns 20-16, Mike. Wow. I should have never switched my
Change
pick.
your pick. Yeah.
And then for the record to everybody, I know on the show last week I picked the Raiders. I switched it.
Yeah.
I texted
I
Mike
think,
during the week after that notification.
yeah. I think I even mentioned, like, I wouldn't blame you for changing your pick if, say, Crosby were to be announced as out. I said something along those lines, or at least I thought it for sure, because obviously he has the high ankle sprain and he played on it week 3. So it must have got more swollen or something, and they were just like, let's just give you a break, dude. And then I'd say the more worrisome thing is Devontae Adams' hamstring. It's like that popping up midweek and then he's out. It's like, all right, well, how long is this going to last? How long is this going to go on for? Is this going to be a 3-week thing, a 4-week thing, or a 1-week thing? So we'll see with that. The reason I chose the Browns to be the winners in this game last week, a week ago, was because I thought and felt like the Browns uh, would beat the Raiders in the trenches, the D line and their offensive line. I did see the notifications that the Browns offensive tackles were going to both be out in this game, and that gave me a little pause. I was like, all right, maybe we will kick their ass. And then pretty soon after that, Max Crosby's out, and I'm like, never mind. We're not going to kick their well, we didn't kick their ass, but we did beat them, and really, I think from what I saw, Deshaun Watson, man, that dude is cooked. His career is not going to be a happy ending. I said it,
Yeah. One thing I will say about this Raider game, one thing that jumps out to me is the way that the Raiders were able to sort of be balanced in their offense. And I know that we gave Luke Getsy a lot, kind of a lot of crap for the the lack of run production. And the Raiders were able to run the football in this game. They had 152 rushing yards and 116 passing yards. So they were better on the ground than they were, in the air. But one thing that stands out to me is the distribution of the carries. So Zamir White has 17 carries for 50 yards. That's 2.9 per carry. Alexander Madison has 5 carries for 60 yards, which is 12 yards per carry. And then obviously DJ Turner gets 1 carry for 18 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Luke Getsy made it an emphasis this week to carry the football because Brock Bowers even got a carry. Tyreek McAllister got 2. Trey Tucker got a carry. Gardner Minshew scrambled, and carried the football. I don't know if any of these were design runs. I was not able to watch a lot of the game, but I did watch the end, and we will talk about Zamir White's fumble because that was one of the worst moments to have that fumble because it put the Browns right back into the game. And I have Zamir White on my fantasy team, but I also had the Browns defense starting, so that felt pretty good for me. But like actual football aside, it's so weird. It's like Zamir White is the bell cow, but he's just not getting it done. And I saw on Twitter like a breakdown of how it's the blocking scheme that really seems to be an issue for the Raiders right now because they're either they're not blocking their assignments properly or something fundamentally is wrong about the way that they're blocking. It's like they're combo blocking, interior defensive linemen and they're not peeling to the second level. And so linebackers are able to shoot through and pretty much bridge the gaps. So I don't know. I do like that they tried to get Zamir White going. Like you cannot say that they didn't. They gave him 17 carries.
Yeah.
Granted, I mean the Browns defensive line is good and you thought that, the Raiders were going to get bullied in the trenches. But at least they were able to run the football. Do you see a correlation here? I was saying the Raiders need to run the football. They need to pound the rock because they play defense. They're the type of team that should pound the rock and play defense. And guess what? They won the game. Jackson Powers Johnson had his first start today, right? He had his NFL debut today.
I was genuinely going to say the correlation might be Jackson Powers Johnson. Like, no bullshit. Because he hasn't started up until this point, and then I think he started in this game. I'm sorry that I don't know off the top of my head, but I know he had a good game, and he was very hyped post game about this win. So yeah, I think that was definitely something, and that was something that I was very strongly hoping would be a thing. Of man, we need Jackson Powers Johnson to get up to speed, get him out there, let him play. And if he struggles at first, that's fine, dude. Colton Miller struggled at first. All those guys struggled at first. But if this was, again, sorry, I don't know, but if this was his first start, it sounds like he did really, really good. And I don't think it's a matter of chance that they have their season high 152 rush yards the same game that he finally gets to start.
Mm-hmm. Question. There was a guy that didn't start this week. Obviously, it's one of the players that we got the notification about. Do you believe, and this, I didn't prep you for this question. Do you believe that, and I'm sure there's speculation on Raider Twitter or, amongst Raider fans about this. Do you believe the Devontae injury was a legit injury, or do you think that was one of the business decisions? Because here's my reasoning. Here's my reasoning on why I question it. So never have I seen a hamstring injury go from, it's always, oh, so-and-so got a hamstring injury and, they're day-to-day, they're questionable to play. It was like, oh, boom, Devontae's got a hamstring injury and he's out this week.
Right.
Pretty early, like, what was that, Wednesday? Thursday?
It was either Thursday or Friday. I kind of think it was Friday. Because I think Antonio Pierce came out for a presser, I want to say on Friday, and said basically Crosby, Adams, Kuntz, or sorry, not Kuntz, sorry, Diablo.
It was Friday. It was Friday.
It was Friday, yeah. And just he named off like 4 or 5 guys that weren't going to play, even though they ended up that night listing Crosby as doubtful and not out. But Pierce slipped up and said that he was out or not playing or whatever he said. It's interesting. My hunch is this is not some sort of ploy or, fake injury or something. Simply, or like, oh, they're getting ready to trade him and they don't want him to get hurt. Apparently, and I didn't see the video, but apparently he gave a hype, not speech, but, like a hype thing before the game to the team, Davante Adams. Like he was still there on the sideline and everything, and he hyped up the team as they were, about to take the field or whatever it was. So I think my hunch would be that this is a legitimate injury. And honestly, what's interesting, like I know every week, every month, since dating back to last year's trade deadline, it's been, oh, are the Raiders going to trade Devontae to the Jets? All because the Jets have Aaron Rodgers. For the love of God, if the Raiders trade Davante Adams to the Jets, you can punch me live on stream. I will come to your house and I will let you punch me live on stream. No, but honestly, what I was seeing on Raider Twitter, like in NFL Twitter, yeah.
Hold on. On that, while we're on that topic of like, it's so funny. Anytime a small thing goes wrong, it's, oh, Devontae wants out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to get rid of this guy. We're wasting his career. Like every single time, it's like full on panic. It's like
dude, this dude's too good for us.
It's actually hilarious, dude. It could be like, oh man, I overcooked my chicken tonight. Oh god damn it, we got to trade Devontae.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, I know. It is ridiculous. I don't know. Maybe it's just a wide receiver thing. Like you expect these receivers to be divas and like, this isn't working. I'm out of here. But Devontae, like, he's not exactly that guy. And he was very specific and like, I want to be out here because I'm closer to home, yada, yada, yada. He helped choose the offensive coordinator. Like he's a team player, dude. Like he's a very good leader. And I think he genuinely has a care for this team. Now, granted, if we end the season and it's like just really bad, maybe Luke Getsy gets fired and he's like, man, I had like a little bit of investment in that, Sure, maybe he starts changing his mind. What?
I'm just like, any minor inconvenience, like it's almost like, well, we got to put Devontae out of his misery. He doesn't want to be here. It's like, all right, ship him off. Like Antonio Pierce. Look at him. He's gained a little bit of weight. Clearly stressed from coaching this team. Devontae needs to go with Aaron Rodgers. Send Devontae to New York. What are we waiting for? We got to get the draft picks. We could get a Devontae Adams.
Yeah. We could get a boat.
This could be anything. It could be a boat. It's I'm just cracking up because it's every single time one one minor inconvenience. Well, Devontae doesn't want to be here. Like, let's just be frank. Like, it's hilarious.
Let me go on Twitter really quick. I actually want to see something. I'm going to search up another player's name who is labeled as out.
Okay. I want to put this genuinely made me laugh. I was gonna look for like a Devontae Adams tweet, but I just scrolled down on the Silver and Gold feed on Twitter. By the way, follow our Twitter. But this is just too funny. This Raider at Horm23 or _23 mood. Not today, old friend. That's you see it, Mike? That's fucking hilarious, dude.
Oh no.
That's pretty good. Oh man. What were you gonna bring up?
Let's okay, here we go. No, fuck. Damn it. So I'm just trying to see okay, I'll spoil it. Fuck it. Michael Mayer. Okay. He was one of the guys that Antonio Pierce announced on Friday that he was not playing. I'm trying to find out why he's not playing. I'm trying to remember is it a shoulder injury or was it labeled as personal? Because in NFL Twitter, it's, oh, the Raiders are going to trade Devontae. Just watch. Like, oh, Devontae to the Jets. In Raiders Twitter, it's, are the Raiders going to trade Michael Mayer? Is he one of those guys that made business decisions? I don't think so. But for where he was drafted, for what he was drafted to be, obviously under Josh McDaniels, and then a year late, like a second round tight end, that's a big, like second round pick for a tight end is, big compensation to use on a tight end. Draft capital. The following year, the Raiders go, fuck it, best player available, tight end, first round. It's like, okay. And then obviously Michael Mayer's snaps are going to be more limited, right? But also the offense has changed. Maybe Luke Getsy doesn't want to utilize him as much as obviously a Brock Bowers. I don't know. But I'm trying to find it and I'm not seeing it. But if he was labeled as, okay, yes, right here, personal. He was out because of a personal reason in this game. That's the one, like, the whole point to this is you asked me, was Devontae's injury fake? Michael Mayer is the one that's screaming off the screen to me of like, well, what is the personal reason here? Is it a Michael Mayer personal or is it an offense personal?
Yeah, I mean, they did just kind of draft his replacement. Like, he was drafted very highly on the Raiders last year. Like, he's supposed to be a tight end one somewhere, right? Or at least theoretically, he should be in the mix. And then now he's being sort of more utilized as the blocking tight end while Brock Bowers is able to, get all the food in his mouth, right?
Yeah.
Able to really eat away the tight end production.
Yeah, like really, Michael Mayer's career path went from like this in year one to like this now in year two. Like it went way down and it's flatlined, and it's like,
yeah,
all right, enjoy getting like 2 targets a game at most. Oh, by the way, we also have Harrison Bryant, who's pretty damn good on this team. As far as Michael Mayer and his future, contracts, it would be good for him to get traded, because he has all the potential in the world. He's just not getting utilized at all. So I would be bummed. But if, come on, damn, dude, Jesus, they spent a second round pick on this dude.
Here's
like
what I will say.
That right there was the realization of like, are they going to do this shit again? Like trade an X second round pick within 2 years? Are we serious? We'll see.
If Michael Mayer is the business decision guy that Antonio Pierce is talking about, it would send a strong message to the locker room if they did get him out of here quick. And I
Right.
think it might resonate well with the team. It's like, I don't care where you're drafted. I'm going to play the guys who put in the work, who are bought in.
Yeah.
Like similar to a couple of years ago with, I was impressed with Jack Del Rio when, I think C.O. Moore got in trouble or something. And he was like, I think he said something about like, well, he wasn't even going to make the team or something like that.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
I vaguely remember that. I think I don't know if he got suspended or what, or if he just made, I don't know if he got hurt and they released him or something. I don't know. Like maybe they injured him before the season started, like preseason, and he was like he wasn't going to make the team anyways. And I was like, damn, jeez, dude.
And it seemed like he was like a lock to make the Raiders roster because
Right.
he had been one of their better linebackers the past several years. So
Yeah.
I kind of like when coaches do that when, if they really feel that way about a particular player and are willing to make it. I guess it kind of sucks you're singling someone out, but in a way, if they're singling themselves out and being selfish and not being a part of the team and buying in, they're only hurting the cause. So why not have the entire team grow around, like make it a positive. And I get it. It's, the draft capital and whatnot. But I mean, that to me, if I was a player, that would tell me, hey, you know what? This guy does not care, how much I'm being paid, how, where I was drafted. He genuinely wants to put whoever puts forth, the most effort, buys into the team on the field. I think that I would love to play for a coach like that rather than, the one that's, oh, I drafted this guy, so I feel like I have to use him. And obviously the key is to draft the guys that you want to use and that are going to buy in, but it's not always 100% that you're going to hit,
Yeah.
So I don't know. What were you going to say?
Yeah, so you kind of threw out the idea, and I kind of started it earlier with Michael Mayer, but if Michael Mayer was the guy with the, Antonio Pierce kind of saying, we're going to make business decisions because players were out there making business decisions. I sent you some videos on Twitter a day or two after last Sunday. And from what I saw through some Raider tweets or what Raider fans tweeting and stuff, I saw videos showing Jack Jones not making an inkling of an attempt to make a tackle late in the Panthers game. And I think I mentioned to you, you can even actually pull it up if you want I think it's on your Twitter, not our Twitter. And I think I said something along the lines of like, I think I found the culprit. Jack Jones did not play in the first quarter of this game against the Browns.
Oh, it's him.
So yeah,
and he was even being asked by the media about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other option, I don't know, because there was no injury designation. I really wish I could confirm it and find a way to confirm it, but I want to say, hold on. Now I need to find out myself.
When did you send that Jack Jones thing?
Should have been Monday or Tuesday.
Maybe you sent it to the. Maybe you did end up sending it over here.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, hold on it. Oh, it switched me. Hold on, folks. We're getting this straight. No, you didn't send it to this one.
Okay.
All right, that's fine, but take our words for it.
So I just want to find out, motherfuck. I just want to find out who did Jackson Powers Johnson start for? Because that's what I'm curious about. Because it's possible that he actually started for Dylan Parham. Oh no, okay, I see him on the left side here. He's playing left guard. Dylan Parham on the right. So it seems like Jackson Powers Johnson came in for Cody Whitehair finally at left
Mhm.
guard, and that's what I've been wanting. So it's possible Cody Whitehair could have been that guy too. Although I think naturally Jackson Powers Johnson was always supposed to be the left guard starter. It's just injury derailed him this offseason. Here we are now, week 4, finally. So I don't think Cody Whitehair was one of those guys getting called out for business decisions, but that's a possibility too. He, in essence, got benched for the rookie. So, but I do think the guy, unfortunately, is Jack Jones. And hopefully that can be it for the whole business decisions thing. Like, I know Antonio Pierce even came out in the presser today after the game and kind of in essence, apologized. Like, yeah, I didn't want to make like a scene or
A
how do you
spectacle.
say? Yeah, like make a spectacle of the team or like single anybody out or anything like that. Like he didn't intend for that. I think he was just answering a question, really. So, but to spin that in a somewhat good way, as far as the Jack Jones thing, Jacorian Bennett might be cornerback 1 for this team. He is playing pretty damn good football.
I like that Antonio Pierce apologized for that because you and I had like different opinions on it, and I think
Right.
Antonio Pierce kind of took a step back and realized what he did necessarily wasn't the best thing for the football team, and probably to conduct like a way to conduct himself representing the Raiders.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think the issue with it was because he made it so like, oh, who was it? Everybody was trying to find who it was, where it should have just been a thing of like, yeah, I noticed some issues on the field and we're going to figure that out. That's all he had to say, you know? But instead of like, yep, there were players making business decisions out there. It's like, well, that's pretty easy to find. And I even mentioned like, the first thought was like, oh, was it maybe Devontae or something like that? And then I thought, honestly, business decisions, that's a hard saying to say consistently.
mhm.
Business decisions on the field sounded to me like somebody not making a tackle. It sounded like something on defense. So, and it sure as shit was. It was Jack Jones not trying to make a tackle.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. So you know what? Uh, since he left it so open ended with like the whole business decisions thing, it just like has me thinking like I bet you there were a bunch of Raiders catching strays from fans. Like, oh, it's
oh
clearly
yeah,
him, right?
yeah,
And then like
yeah,
Antonio Pierce is not even talking about that player, and then it's like the 50 Cent meme, like, what do you say fuck me for?
right. I
You know?
hope Michael Mayer doesn't have a Twitter because there are so many fans that are thinking like and tweeting like, "Oh, Michael Mayer is probably one of the guys the business decisions, and oh, he's gonna get traded and all this shit." He might have something really sad personally happening to him right now, and he's got all this bullshit on Twitter about him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So hopefully he's not checking that,
Yeah,
but
it's
we'll
like
we'll
how do you
see.
get fired on your day off? You know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
But but one thing I do want to say is I wanted to bring this up because I just searched up Devonte Adams trade on Twitter, and like we'll just
uh,
scroll through a couple.
I saw
Devonte
this.
Devonte Adams hamstring as soon as he's traded to the Jets. Hold on. Freaking
Sound
Willy
good.
Wonka.
Yeah.
Uh, Dan Orlovsky. This was last season. Dan Orlovsky says that the Raiders are wasting Devonte Adams' career, and he should ask for a trade. Update: multiple teams have reached out to the Raiders regarding trade for a wide receiver, Devonte Adams. I guess that's teams are going to reach out. This is Pro Football Talk. Hold on. Get ready for Devonte Adams trade chatter. The deadline arrives in 5 weeks and 2 days. And then it's just we can go
The
down the rabbit hole, but
yeah.
it's its own thing. If you pay attention at all, it's like we got to get Devonte out of here.
That following tweet on there was the Chiefs should trade for Devonte Adams.
That's not gonna happen.
Fuck no, it's not gonna happen. Jesus.
If it did,
I
like,
understand why they should though, because Patrick Mahomes likes to take out his own fucking guys on my fantasy team.
yeah.
Fuck.
But all right, let's see here. We are going to finish out this topic by just recapping that Mike knows nothing about Raider football. He picked the wrong pick again, and I know something about Raider football. I just didn't trust my gut, and I let Mike drag me down with him. And yeah, so far not a very good start for either of us this season on our picks. But we are about to get into next week's game. Real quick,
One last thing.
I want to go into a couple comments after your last thing.
For sure. The man on the cover today, Isaiah Polamau, had a great game. Possibly his first start in his career. I'm not sure. But, since the Marcus Epps, unfortunately, tearing his ACL injury of last week against the Panthers, Isaiah Polamau is the starting safety opposite Javon Merrick. Merrick had an interception in this game off of a deflected pass off of Amari Cooper, ex-Raider. And Isaiah Polamau had 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 pass defended. Charles Snowden stepped up big time. He had the exact same stat line as far as the major stats, right? I think maybe Polamau had more tackles, but Snowden's sack came on the final play of the game for the Browns offense, which sealed the win for the Raiders. And just overall, the defensive line really stepped up with Max Crosby out of this game, especially a guy like Christian Wilkins, who had a big pressure on, again, that final play that led Deshaun Watson outside of the pocket and eventually Charles Snowden, catching him and getting him down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say, you said that Marcus Epps tore his ACL. He's out for the season.
Yeah.
And Max Crosby didn't play this past week.
Yep.
Oh, dude, the season's over, dude. Gotta trade Devontae now. Get him out of here. He doesn't want to be. I mean, it's clear he doesn't want to be here. Every single press conference, he says how much he wants to be here because you can clearly see, like, his agent, bullshit. Him, bullshit. He doesn't want to be here, dude. Just trade him already. Like, yeah, obviously I'm joking, but that's really,
the Jets are coming.
Yeah, the Jets are looming. Like, the Jets want to trade for him. Why not just pair him back up with Rodgers? Like, they've been doing that the second that he left Green Bay. The second.
One last note that I will have before we get into the comments. Something that I didn't like really at the end of this game, or before the end of this game, was that I think the Raiders had at least 2 offensive drives within the last 5 to 6 minutes of this game where they could have put this game away, and they didn't. They just, third down, no, incompletion, or third down, stuffed, whatever it was. But their offense couldn't put the game away. And like in typical Raiders defense fashion, like the defense got it done. They bent, and they bent, but they didn't break at the end of the game, and they got it done. Kudos to them. But like, all the Raiders offense had to do was just get it down the field. Like, all right, we got 150 rushing yards on the day. We should have had 200. We should have put the game away on offense. And my last point within that is that Gardner Minshew did not have a good game. Period. And they won this game against a team with both of their offensive tackles missing, and a quarterback who's frankly struggling, a run game that's just not really all there. Just a bad offense, really. It seemed like there was a wide open pass touchdown to Amari Cooper in this game that was called back on I think it was the right call to call it holding on the center against Christian Wilkins, but it could have easily been one of those plays like in the Super Bowl for the Chiefs every year where it doesn't get called. And
or every game for that matter.
yeah, for
It's
that matter,
neither
yeah.
here nor there.
Yeah. And then the Browns would have been up. And then does the Raiders still stall out? The Raiders offense still stall out? Or can they still win the game? Because from what I saw at the end of this game, when it was like, hey, just get it done, just put it away, they couldn't do it. So even though it's like, yay, we won, it's like, for me, I'm like, I saw a tweet. This is kind of off topic, but I saw a tweet that last season, end of like the probably not the final game of the season, but somewhere towards like the final 3 weeks of the season, the Jets played the Commanders, and the Commanders were winning the game with like 2 seconds left, and Greg Zuerlein, the kicker for the Jets, is up to kick the game-winning kick for the Jets. Okay, at that time, the Commanders had 5 wins and the Jets had 6. Okay, or maybe it was 4 wins and 5. All right. Zuerlein made the kick. The Jets won the game. Had he missed that kick, the Commanders would not have Jaden Daniels. And we talked about him earlier. He's killing it right now. At that, we've talked about this every fucking week. Take your medicine. That game sucked for Commanders fans. It's like, damn it, we lost. Are you losing now? You're 3-1. You're in the league in your division because you have the fucking team-changing quarterback, franchise-changing quarterback. That's what the Raiders need. I've been fucking saying this. We're winning these useless games. I'm ranting. I'm sorry, but it's like if we're
No,
gonna
dude, it's great.
always
speaking
stall
facts, dude.
out, if we're gonna always stall out, and the offense is gonna struggle because of quarterbacks like Gardner Minshew, I'd rather us fucking lose. I'd rather us lose this game. So that's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. I think it's time to take comments. Got to cool the mood a little bit. Thrash said, I mean, honestly, it could have been a good move even if everybody played. And that's referring to me switching my pick, even if Devontae Adams, Max Crosby, and Michael Mayer had played. So, yeah, I mean,
I will say, okay, I'm sorry. I will say the Browns defense is good. Okay.
not like last year.
Not like last year, but still, like they've been fine. And I have to give credit to Luke Getsy. Like we kind of started with it, but I didn't mention his name. Like last week, I was saying, yeah, this season's going to live and die by Luke Getsy. Last week, we were dying by Luke Getsy. This week, we were living by Luke Getsy because he got more intricate with his play calls. A lot of trickeration. Wide receivers getting carries and reverses or whatever you want to call them. Jet sweeps. And it worked.
Tight end. Yeah.
Tight end. Alexander Madison, he only got 5 carries, but he went for 12 yards a carry, dude. Like, that's what you need. They finally actually made a solid attempt to establish the run, and it finally worked. So I got to give credit to Luke Getsy. But again, just those final 2 drives of the game, it's like they damn near should have lost this game.
Yeah. So. Demoke says AOC MVP incoming. Mike, I mean, are we close to Aiden O'Connell getting back in there?
I think they would need consistent losses. I think that. So what, we're playing the Broncos next week, and then that's week 5. Week 6. Oh, I'm not remembering who we're playing week 6. Oh, Steelers. If we get a bad loss against the Broncos next week, which the Broncos just beat the Jets in a very low-scoring game, I'll get back to the Broncos. Yeah, I'll get back to the Broncos, but let's say we lose that game in ugly fashion, because if you are going to lose to the Broncos, it's going to be ugly fashion. And then they go and play the Steelers, and they should lose, I think, against the Steelers. Spoilers, I guess. I could see that being the point where it's like, you know what? The following week, I think, is a Rams game. Let's put Aiden O'Connell in. I could see it. But not in the next 2 weeks, but after that.
Mm-hmm. CT Niner says, it's late. Have to be up in 3 hours. Good stuff, guys. Hey, man, we really appreciate it. I mean, definitely aim to have a little bit more sleep if you can. That's just advice from one Niner fan to another. I know it's kind of hard sometimes when we're blowing games to the Rams. But hey, hopefully that you're able to sleep good tonight because the Niners kicked ass. They are, I mean, I don't think Jacoby Brissett will be able to sleep because he's going to be so sore, from the havoc that was wreaked by the defensive line today and Nick Bosa. But I think you should be able to sleep a little bit better than him. That's for sure. So thank you again for
Oh,
supporting the channel. What were you
we
going to
didn't
say,
talk
Mike?
about we didn't talk about Nick Bosa in the Niners coverage.
Yeah, we
He
did.
had okay. Did you mention that he
Did.
had like nine pressures or something like that?
I didn't mention that he had pressures, but I mentioned that it felt like he had, like he had a lot of pressures. Like I said,
Yeah.
Bosa had one of his, best games in a while, and
Okay.
he's supposed to be dominating,
Yeah. All
these
right. Good.
teams.
Good.
Back to the Raiders. Lucky says, bench Zamir White and give Madison the running back one role. I've seen enough of White inconsistencies. Yeah.
I don't disagree. I think I've seen a lot of talk and chatter that maybe just Zamir White doesn't quite fit this blocking scheme. That checks out statistically, that's for sure. And Madison looks more explosive. So if that's what it is, do what you have to do. I don't care.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. I think, I was a big Zamir White fan coming into this year. I drafted him. I reached for him in fantasy. I had a lot of high hopes for him, but Luke Getzey kind of likes to run his committee. And I mean, we didn't see a lot of Madison in the game. Like he only had five, 6 carries. I think 5 for 60 yards. And he was more explosive. He ended out with more yards than Zamir White, who had 17 carries for 50. And like, here's the thing. I do think that you need a bruiser. Like right now, perfect example. Can Alexander Madison, obviously he's not Christian McCaffrey. Can he be a Christian McCaffrey, and can Zamir White be a Jordan Mason? Where one can really run it in between the tackles when you're up in the football game, and the other one is more of the, all right, we need to generate offense right now. We need to put up points. He can do more for us in the passing game. And honestly, most of the rushing ability is like offensive line and blocking and correct play call, that kind of stuff. I don't see why you don't just rip the Band-Aid off and start Madison, other than the fact that I think Antonio Pierce really likes Zamir White and wants to reward him for working hard. Antonio Pierce has been very adamant that Zamir White looks much better than he did last year. And right now it's not translating on the field, but at a certain point he as a head coach has to make a hard decision. And I mean, maybe he is making the hard decision. Maybe it is a hard decision for him, but he's sticking with his guy. But we've seen, different outcomes of the running backs week to week, and I think we saw that in Chicago with Luke Getzey as offensive coordinator there. So it was like a committee. DeAndre Swift wasn't there, but it was Roshan Johnson, Khalil Herbert,
Deontay Foreman.
Yeah,
That's what you're thinking of.
Yeah. Fonzie says, what were you saying?
Just, if they're, I know Pierce has been talking about like, oh, let's aim for 20 carries for Zamir White. Well, if Alexander Madison's the hot hand right now, maybe you should aim for, 15 carries for Madison, 12 for Zamir White right now. Maybe that's what I'm aiming for. So.
Fonzie says, what's up, guys? Fonzie, welcome back. Here we are, week 4. We're already talking about week 5. Well, we're about to be talking about week 5 in a second here. But yeah, we're about to start the conversation about week 5. This season has been, it's going by quick. Before we know it, we'll be talking about the draft again. And I think Mike is kind of hoping that the Raiders start talking about the draft sooner rather than later, instead of just being good enough to not make the playoffs.
Yep. Who are we going to pick at 11th overall? Not a quarterback.
Lucky says, I watched film on Minshew, last week's game, and he missed open receivers and overthrew bad passes. Yeah, bad passes. Even the offensive line hasn't helped the last couple games.
Yeah, I think maybe the pressure is getting to him. The offensive line certainly has not helped him, but this was my exact complaint with Minshew in the preseason of like, dude, I understand he can extend plays to a degree, like by no means like to an elite level or anything, but compared to Aiden O'Connell, yeah, he can extend plays. But this dude is not hyper accurate, to say the least, and I think that was a thing going on in this game in week 4. Whereas Aiden O'Connell, I just think he can stand collected in the pocket. Now, if your offensive line is struggling, chances are O'Connell's going to struggle too. But when he's, getting protected, he could make the throws. And not to say that Minshew can't, it's just that sometimes he doesn't. So.
Yeah, and Lecky also says, I may be wrong. Heard some rumors Michael Mayer may be traded soon. We already kind of talked about that already, but Mike, do you want to give a quick summary? And Lecky, if it's not into detail enough, feel free to rewind after we're done here, or maybe Mike can summarize it well.
Yeah, I even saw a tweet from Tristan Kuhn. That's kind of my guy to go to on Twitter for Raiders stuff. And he said kind of like, this is probably more of like his gut, not that he's like an insider. No offense to him or anything. But he just kind of said like, look out for a Michael Mayer trade. Like I just think he believes it, because Michael Mayer randomly in week 4 being out for a personal reason is just very peculiar, And then Harrison Bryant came in, and I think he had like 2 catches for 21 yards or something like that, which doesn't sound like much, except he actually ended up having more receiving yards than Brock Bowers this week. And I remember when they signed Harrison Bryant, I was like, that's a great signing. He's a really capable tight end, like on all facets of the game. And at that time, because free agency comes before the draft, I thought he's a great tight end 2 behind Michael Mayer. Well, he's also a great tight end 2 behind Brock Bowers if you don't have Michael Mayer anymore. Like, let's just be honest. Now, I think part of the reason why Christian Kuhn said, look out for a Michael Mayer trade is because prior to the game, maybe Sunday morning or Saturday night, they brought up, I think it was John Samuel Shanker off the practice squad as the 3rd tight end on the roster because Michael Mayer was out. I don't know if he's overreacting. To me, that's normal practice. You have to have the bodies just in case somebody, knock on wood, were to go down, right? What do you want to do? Just stroll out there with 2 tight ends and they both get hurt? And it's like, all right, let's slide a receiver on the end of the line. No, you want to have a 3rd tight end to play. So I don't think them bringing up John Samuel Shanker or whoever it was means, oh, yep, Michael Mayer's a goner. I just think the most peculiar thing is, all right, he was out for personal reasons. It's personal, so I don't even think we're going to find out what that was. But it is the question of like, well, what's going on?
Well, what's going on is, I mean, it's kind of getting to him that Devontae Adams doesn't want to be here.
Okay, good one. Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't even deliver yet. I was like, I swear to God, if this is Devontae.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man. Don't choke on your water, dude. But
oh
yeah,
my God.
In terms of Brock Bowers, like, I think you mentioned that the other tight end got involved. I think it was a little bit disappointing that Brock Bowers didn't get a little bit more involved in this game, because
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if
he was going to get a funnel and didn't.
Right. You would think that he should have because Devontae's out. I almost wonder if because Devontae was out, the defense focused on Brock Bowers because he's already that guy.
Yeah, but like, all right, here's my thing. My prediction once I heard that Devontae Adams was not going to be in, my prediction was that Jacoby Myers was going to have a great game. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and Jacoby Myers had a. I mean, he was really good in terms of like yards per reception, but like he only
Mhm.
got 5 receptions.
Right.
Trey Tucker also got 5, and then I mean Bowers got sort of outplayed by the other tight end, Harrison Bryant. So
Let me just look. Okay. Gardner Minshew, 14 for 24 for 130 yards. Genuinely, I think that is a large reason why a guy like Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers didn't have better stat lines. It's because the quarterback wasn't able to get it to them. He was just over 50% completion percentage, only 130 yards. So, again, they focused on running the ball in this game, but I think there were a lot of like third downs where Gardner Minshew was just missing receivers. So,
yeah, I guess I'm just a little disappointed, but like, oh, I did not mean to do that. Am I still here? All right,
yeah.
cool. I pressed a button that I should not have pressed. But I was I I'm just gonna take it like with a grain of salt. No, that's not the right expression to use there. But I can't complain much about them not throwing a lot after I spent a lot of last week saying they need to establish the run, and they did. So sort of they did good. I'm just a little disappointed because Brock Bowers is the star. He's the shiny brand new car in the driveway. Drive it.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe I'm just when one button isn't being pushed, I'm just gonna say, hey, that button isn't being pushed. Right?
Yep.
The other button isn't being pushed. Maybe it's
Yeah.
gonna be like whack-a-mole every single time where it's like,
Right.
yeah, you hit that one, but you didn't hit that one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. We're going to have the week. I know it, where it's like Devontae starts, plays, he's healthy, one catch for 7 yards, and that's it. It's going to happen. And we're all
and
going to
then
be
he's
sitting there
gonna get
going,
traded.
he's going to get traded to the Jets.
It's gonna
Yeah.
happen. All
So,
right.
yeah.
Let's go ahead and talk about the Broncos game. Do I have to start on this one?
You can start if you want. If you don't want to, I can start.
You start off, but I'll do the first, the initial prediction.
Okay. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but the Raiders are on one hell of a win streak against this very annoying franchise. And I'd like to keep it going. And although I was just complaining about winning useless games, and someday you got to draft your quarterback, and the only way to do that is to lose these useless games, I want to win this game because I want to keep the streak going. Like, I'm
8 games.
8 games. So as long as they have been the Las Vegas Raiders, the Broncos have not beaten them. I know that for sure. But yes, 8 game win streak. That means 4 seasons straight, at least, right? I mean, yeah,
The
of
Broncos
not.
haven't beat the Raiders since before COVID.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
2020 to the present,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. And I want to keep it going. Like, how funny would that be if it was like 2030 and it's like the Broncos haven't beat the Raiders since COVID? What the, like, since before COVID? Anyways,
Mhm.
either way, it's been impressive. Uh, yeah, I want the Raiders to beat them. I want the Raiders to always beat the Broncos. Someday, hopefully, the Raiders can make it more consistent against the Chiefs. I want the Raiders to always beat the Chiefs. I want the Raiders to always beat the Chargers. That's just how it is. The Broncos won a very ugly, low-scoring game against the Jets today, and that is no small feat, I think.
The Jets are a much better offense than the Raiders, and the Jets could not get
Yeah,
it going.
yeah,
They
yeah.
couldn't run the ball. They couldn't pass, partly probably because it was raining, but the Jets have a much better quarterback situation right now than the Raiders.
I want to look at something, and this might actually change what I thought I was going to say as far as my prediction here.
Mike's
So I'm
picking
going to
the
look.
Broncos.
I'm going to look at what the Broncos have done this season. Okay. Week 1 they played the Seahawks and it was 20-26 Seahawks. Week 2 against the Steelers, 13-6 Steelers. Week 3 Broncos 26, Buccaneers 7. And then this week Broncos 10, Jets 9. The Broncos are winning this game. I was going to say the Raiders are going to win this game, and hopefully my streak continues with picking Raider games, and I'm wrong again. But the Broncos defense is on a fucking heater since week 2. So I think that this offense, especially with like Davante Adams, if he's out another week, forget about it. They're not going to beat them. If Gardner Minshew has another game of miscues and a little bit of struggling here and there, they're not winning this game. And then the other question is obviously if Max Crosby plays. So yeah, Give me Broncos.
Yeah, I think if Max Crosby plays, I think I'll take the Raiders, dude. Like, I don't know, man. I'm leaning on the Raiders side of this, and it's kind of funny because you're the
It's
Raider
the rookie.
fan.
It's the rookie QB. I totally see it. Continue.
The Raiders are working with. I mean, it's just so weird because they don't have their superstars right now, and they were able to beat a Browns team that the Browns should have beat the Raiders without their two best players.
Yeah, the Browns' offense is kind of similar to the Broncos, so like I can definitely see us beating them, and this game is in Denver, I believe. It doesn't matter. Like the Raiders have had good history there recently, so I mean, I can see the Raiders if they can get their offense finally in a groove, they can control the momentum of this game. But it's like if they get turnovers or whatever, the Broncos, that Buccaneers game in week 3 is really impressing me right now. Like I didn't pay too much attention to that in week 3. I just thought like, oh, that's a fluke. But now after this week, also beating the Jets, I'm like, hold on a second. Like their defense is doing something right now. So
I think that the Raiders would greatly benefit from Davante Adams being back because if Davante Adams plays, Patrick Surtain is going to have to shadow Davante Adams.
Yep.
And that's going to free up looks for Brock Bowers.
Correct.
Yep. And Jacoby Myers.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know it's very early. We don't have a lot of clarity on the injuries. Last week, I said I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to Antonio Pierce. I feel like doing it again. It's not about the Broncos defense being good. The Raiders have a good defense.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like the Raiders also have a good defense. And for as bad as the Raiders offense has been, I think the Raiders have more talent on offense than the Broncos do.
Mm.
Granted, you can argue about who has a better defense, right?
Mm.
It's definitely like when the Raiders are healthy, I think they have the better defense. And maybe Patrick Surtain is absolutely the best defensive back of the two teams.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, man, I think I'll take the Raiders in this one.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think that you can just be
dead
happy
wrong.
about – yeah, you can just be dead wrong again. And then later in the week, something bad's going to happen. I'm going to switch my pick, and all of a sudden, I'm going to be talking about how Davante Adams is going to go to the Jets. But let me go ahead and pull up this screen here so everybody can see me put it in stone. Michael is picking the Broncos.
I can't believe it. Yeah,
I cannot believe that. Real quick, I do want to go back. I want to check, like, give a little update on how we're doing on our before season picks.
Yeah, picks.
So let's see. Broncos. No, I'm picking the Raiders. I'm sipping that Raider victory juice today. Let's see here. All right. We were correct on this. And I can go. I'll update that later. We both picked the Browns and we were wrong. So we're almost. It's the exact same. We've made the same picks up to this point, except you picked the Raiders against the Broncos, and this week I picked the Raiders. You picked the Broncos, right?
Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, this is the first game that I'm going against my preseason picks. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
And that
Okay.
I think is the show, Mike.
Excellent.
I think it was a great one. You know,
Agreed.
everybody who tuned in. I know Fonzie was in here, Lecky was in here, CT Niner, Demokes, Thrash, Niner Trump. You know, thank you guys again for tuning into the stream.
Yep.
Stay tuned for that Devontae Adams trade news to come in. Oh my God, dude. Look, last second buzzer beater. We got Patrick Bateman. Will's back.
Will.
I was literally just thinking, I was like, man, we did not get an American Psycho reference this week. Yeah. Will, thank you for tuning back in. I mean, the show's practically over. I hope you enjoyed. You were a 49er fan, right? Right, Will?
I believe, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I think
Will
Will
lives in Vegas,
Niner
but he's a Niner fan.
Yes. And he says congrats on the win to you, Mike, and to the Raiders. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the win. If you want the full 49er breakdown, I'm going to post a video tomorrow. So if you want to just check it while it's cut up. If not, we started with the 49ers. So if you, after we're out of here tonight, which will be in like a minute or so, once we're out of here tonight, you feel free to rewind. I know it's more fun to watch it live. You know, just personally, I think it's always like kind of cool to just comment and like have the comments displayed on the screen. But yeah, I mean, in terms of when we go live, regular schedule should be, we're aiming for Sundays, except for when our teams probably play on a Monday night. Like I would say, let's just say the Raiders play on Thursday and the Niners play Monday. We'll do it after the final game of the week, right? Like after the final between the Niners and the Raiders. But some weeks might be a little bit different. You know, life happens. So we kind of have to adjust accordingly. But yeah, sort of expect us Sunday nights the rest of the season. And if anything changes, you know, we're sorry ahead of time. So yeah, Mike, you got anything to say before we get out of here? Really happy Will was able to come back. He said he was going to come back this week.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I got to go return some videotapes.
Again, got to return some videotapes.
Yeah.
Will, you missed it. We were looking at the Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers videotapes, you know, and how that pairing should be paired back up because everything is going wrong for the Raiders.
I'm just glad Deshaun Watson doesn't have any videotapes.
And with that, we're out of here. So, like I said, thank you, Will. Thank you, Lecky, Fonzie, CT Niner, Demokes, Thrash, and Niner Trump. Everybody, have a great night. We'll catch you guys next week. Go Niners. Mike, any last words?
Let's get a quarterback, man. God.
Just get a quarterback. Just please
help.